Good morning. What is up? It is 2KJ, and I'm starting a new thing. I want to do at least once a week where I just talk sports, at least football, because season's over, so there's a lot to go about. We got free agency, we got draft coming, we got training camp, all that. A lot of people moving, a lot of people staying. Teams on the rise, teams on the low, all that stuff we're going through. But first, what happened recently at the Super Bowl? We had the Bengals and the Rams. The Bengals, they were the young, fiery offense. Their defense, it was good, don't get me wrong, but the defense was definitely the secondary option when it comes to offense and defense on that team. The Rams, on the other hand, they were a lot of guys who came from different areas of the league and formed, I wouldn't say a super team because they weren't even that super. They were just a bunch of guys who had been in the league a while and wanted that shit. Honestly, you got Matthew Stafford, who had been in the league. I think he was drafted 10 years ago. So, and he'd been put on a team that hadn't been 500 probably, I think, 4 years of his career. He's only been in the playoffs with the Lions twice, and both times he got his ass molly-whopped. So, he obviously deserved a team that he could lead to the Super Bowl, and that he did. I wish he would have won MVP and sealed it off, but Cooper Kupp definitely deserved that one. So, going into that game, I definitely thought Bengals offense was going to do more than the Rams defense. And that was going to be the big factor in the game because there was nothing that I could see stopping Matthew Stafford and OBJ other than OBJ getting hurt, which we'll talk about. But the offense that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have over the Rams defense was something because nobody's seen Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase go crazy like this except for this season. So it's hard to game plan against them. Now, you can do so much, which they did, but there was a lot of rookie mistakes, you could say, by the Bengals. There was a lot of times they could have taken over or sealed the game, but because of their lack of experience and because the Rams' experience in these big games, you can't do anything about it. Aaron Donald's been to the Super Bowl. He literally watched as Tom Brady drove down the field and iced it for him. So yeah, Aaron Donald had a little bit of a vengeance, and he needed to clear that monkey off his back. So he did it. He did his thing and got the job done. Honestly, I thought he was going to be MVP. I know there was him, Stafford, and Kupp. Stafford probably got third place if there was voting, and AD got second, but probably by a very small margin. If Cooper Kupp doesn't catch that game winner, then that's over. AD wins the MVP, no questions asked. Stuff about that game that I took away: if Odell stays healthy, that game is not even close. Not even close. Odell gets hurt in the first half, and that team depletes. Not depletes completely, but they have to rethink their whole game plan. Instead of adjusting to, because I'm assumptions, they were double teaming Cooper Kupp. They were probably putting a little bit more pressure on him. I don't know though. Maybe they trust OBJ, but the way that Cooper Kupp was playing all year, you got to respect his numbers. You got to put an extra body on him or do an extra coverage to make sure he doesn't get open. Still didn't work because he still got open, didn't he? OBJ, man, that knee, that's a brutal end. I don't think he's going to come back next season. I think he's going to take a whole year off. He'll be, I believe, a free agent. So will he stay with LA? Finish her off? I mean, they're trying to win another one, so if they make it back to the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl again, he does have a chance at recovery and getting back in there late playoffs. I remember Jordy Nelson tore his shit up right before the season started, and that was a big blow. But we got to the NFC Championship that year. We were on the way. That was the Cardinal game. Tough loss. We ran the table that year, as the Packers do every fucking time. And whenever we did, get to the NFC Championship in hopes of getting there. And there were rumors that, hey, Jordy Nelson's been out, because he got out like the first week of preseason when he tore his shit. So, you do the rehab and stuff, you maybe get there, just like, Kevin Durant, fuck around and get there too early, tear your shit again. Odell, though, I think he's going to take the year off. Personally, I don't think he's going to even try to suit up unless, like I said, they make a playoff run and they reach the Super Bowl. I think the Super Bowl would allow him to play, but unless they make the Super Bowl again, I really don't think he's going to play the next season. That being said, Aaron Donald, talking about retirement, but then they win the Super Bowl. They go to the celebration. He's talking about running back. Honestly, I never saw Aaron Donald retiring. I think it was just I think it was the fatigue of playing in a league where you don't get accolades unless you're the number one team. No, I don't want to say that because 4 times, but I think him not winning a Super Bowl took a lot on him because he was working so hard to get there. Now that he's won it, now that he's tasted it, I don't think he wants to get rid of that taste. I think he wants to continue to play. He's going to win 2, 3, maybe 4 times, but who knows? I honestly saw him leaving the Rams before he left the league. So maybe he's just a Ram for life, but I guess the future will tell. My prediction is he has another career year, gets to the playoffs, they maybe make it to the Super Bowl, and depending on if they make it to the Super Bowl, I think this will either be his retirement year or he's going to ask for more money and he's going to leave. I don't think he's going to stay with the Rams his whole career. Hey, you never know. He really has put a lot of time in with the Rams. So he was there when they were in St. Louis. I take him as the second gen Ndamukong Suh. And why I say that is because Ndamukong Suh, while he was only known for his dirty plays, he was still a great player. Amazing nose tackle. Like the best of the 2000s, 2010, I would say, in my opinion. I'm talking nose tackle, not D end, not edge rusher, straight DT. But Aaron Donald, while I feel like he's the second gen, and why I say that is because I don't see any other defensive tackle in the league getting in linemen's faces and grabbing their face masks or their fucking mouthpiece. I don't see. Now, while he doesn't, stomp on quarterbacks' arms or try to hurt people intentionally, he is an intimidator. He is a fearmonger. Let's not get that wrong. So I really don't see him retiring. I just don't. I think that was all for show, and maybe it was just a little bit of him being tired of being on a team where he's that close. Speaking of that close, let's talk about Green Bay. Everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to leave. Everybody thinks he's going to go to a different team or retire or go join a book club or take a bunch of, I don't even know what the next example is. Like, this, honestly, even as a Packers fan, this man is up and out and about. I mean, we're taking his words as Bible scripture, but yet we fail to realize this man just went through a 2-week cleansing where every single day you're throwing up and shitting all day. You take herbs, you inhale things. I don't remember the title of the actual cleansing. I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and it sounds pretty brutal, not gonna lie. And whenever I had the flu, there were a lot of things going through my mind. A lot of things. A lot of doubt. A lot of negativity. A lot of paranoia. So, Honestly, I'm going to wait to make my prediction because right now, I don't think anything is set in stone. I think him sitting back after the season was over and game planning with Big Matt, I think that was either A, him preparing for the next season per usual, let's go win a Super Bowl, or B, I'm done. Let's game plan how we can get me out of here so I don't look like Brett Favre, but I also get my way. And I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. In love, we trust. But honestly, this shit happened last year. He had his little pity party. He went to Bora Bora with this girly girl, and he was enjoying life. And you know what happened next year? He threw over 40 touchdowns and less than 5 interceptions. 4 times. So, honestly, I don't see it being a big deal. I'm a Packers fan. I'm not a Rodgers fan. So, if he's on the team, he's a Packer. He's a team member. So I'm a fan of him. But if he's not on the Packers, he'd be fucking with the members. If he goes, I think the only 2 places I really see him going, if he was to go anywhere, is Denver, because they got his best friend and Nathaniel Hackett, or home, back to his bed. That's it. Where else do you see him going? Because he doesn't have anywhere else that maybe San Francisco because he's from the Bay, but they would have to give us Trey Lance and Nick Bosa and 2 firsts. No, in all realities, if he stays, great. We're back at it like it was last year. We're gonna get the NFC because we're done fucking trying to take the North. The North is ours. If we have A-Rod, the North is ours. Week 1, the North is ours. Like, I can't say it any better. The North is ours. So we're fighting for the NFC. We're playing for the NFC. We're focused on them 3 teams that are gonna try to take us down. Which, well, you have to put in LA because they're a Super Bowl team. So LA, probably gonna have to get it back in blood with San Francisco if Trey Lance has a good year, but more to that. And the 3rd team, I believe, is going to be a sleeper. I believe it's going to be a team that we haven't seen in the playoffs. I think it's going to be a team that's been on that grind, 247, 365. I'm thinking about the football team, the Washington Commanders. They got a beast D-line. That D-line is juicy, pause. But god damn, you cannot do shit on that D-line. Can't run, can't pass. The only problem they have, and Scary Terry's a beast. What are you talking about? You got a good receiver. I don't know about their O-line. Their O-line might be lackey. But if they can fix their DB situation, because right now you can't be playing with the DBs you got. They're just lacking. That's a big problem I see. They're DBs, and they need to get a quarterback. I like their Heineke. I like Heineke, but he played the GOAT in a wild card game last year or 2 years ago. Fought, showed his worth. They gave him the reins, and maybe they didn't give him the full reins, but hey, man, you played a lot more than you did the year before, and the team still ended up in the same situation they were the year before. So I would be, if I was the Commanders, I would be looking for a new quarterback, and that could honestly be their game changer because their defense is B+ in my opinion. In my opinion, their D-line is A+, and their linebackers and DBs, I'd say their DBs are C, and then their linebackers probably B+. But I don't know. You're gonna have to let me know that. Any Commander fans in the chat. That would probably be my sleeper team, honestly. The Eagles, they hold the NFC East unless the Cowboys show up, which, every other year they decide that they're gonna take a 4-win season and pick up a number 1 or a top 10 draft pick, and then use that guy for 4 years, let him waste his talent, hate Dallas, and move on to somebody else so they can actually use him to win a Super Bowl. But hey, I digress. Amari Cooper. What about, so the Eagles are the only team that I see taking out the Commanders. I know I'm just going on a little bit of a tangent, but hear me out. If the Commanders aren't the sleeper team, then it's got to be the Eagles, because the Eagles are always in the playoffs. They're always playing great football. I feel like they're one of those teams that are always like in that 500, and they're always fighting. They're always fighting for a place in the playoffs or a place in the hunt to be in the playoffs, you know. They're another one of those teams that every other year they do something that gets the attention of the NFL. And so, going back to it, if we're going to go all the way back to full circle, remember, because we started out, well, who are the Packers really trying to take out? And who's the sleeper team? And who's the sleeper team? See that? See what I did there? Whole clock. The Packers could easily wipe any of these teams I just mentioned out. And I'll say that again. The Packers can beat any of those teams that I just mentioned. Let me say it again, just so we're clear. I'm not knocking on wood. Let me find some concrete. No, I can't do that. I'm doing too much. But seriously though, we want the smoke with all 32. Best believe it. So, with that, I think the Packers' only big competitor really is AFC teams, the Rams. Because, like, you can't take that San Francisco Packer game as face value. Because watching that game from kickoff to kneel down, nothing happened. Well, it wasn't even a kneel down. It was a fucking game winner. Because nobody did anything in that game. Our special teams gave up all the points, all of them. Our defense didn't get scored on. And if they did, our offense came back and put more points back on the board. So, if my calculations are correct, if we didn't have special teams in football, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Special teams is a valuable place in football. Take it from me. Dun, 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 dun. Just kidding. I'm dropping a lot of subtle hits in this video. That's funny. And I'm not going to clip it either. I don't give a fuck. So, if we talk about the Packers winning the playoffs, we have to think about this. They got to win the NFC. The only teams in the NFC, and every year it's different, because every year at week 8, trade deadline hits and new teams basically evolve. I mean, we did not, at the beginning of week 1, the Rams had Deshaun Jackson in Odell's spot. Let's just say that. Let's just think about that first, okay? So for anybody who thought the Rams were going to win the Super Bowl just because they got Matthew Stafford, I didn't think that. I thought maybe it was going to be cool. Like, I thought they were going to have a new offense that nobody was going to figure out, which I was 50-50 on that. But Cooper Kupp really just took over. My other topic that I was going to bring up, because I want to transition. We're talking too much about next year's playoffs. I want to transition. Next year's predictions on Super Bowl teams. Personally, I think the Bengals are going to come back hot. I think they're going to need to improve their offensive line. I think that Super Bowl showed it. And honestly, if teams don't start picking up on the notes that Super Bowl losers are dropping, I mean, look at it. The Chiefs with the Bucks. Pat got ate up. Like, I think he had 400, it was like 300 or 400 lateral yards. So he was literally just trying to avoid guys for 300 to 400 yards. Just trying to avoid linemen. That is why you need linemen. If Joe Burrow would have had one more second, the Bengals would have won. And why I say that is because I was watching that drive that they were cooking up, and god fucking damn. They're like, the first 3 plays, I think the second play of that drive, that last drive, he dumps it off to the running back on a wheel route, and the running back runs like 25 yards. You can't do that when you're trying to close the game out. But I don't know why they tried to do the small ball game and try to kick a field goal. They were doing great, eating up a bunch of field. So if they have one more second, and I know this is like a what if or like hypotheticals, like nobody can predict these things at the beginning of the season, but that was the game changer, was the line. And I knew that going into the game it was going to be a trench war. Is the offensive line for Cincinnati going to be able to withstand fucking Von Miller and Aaron Donald and homeboys Osuma or whatever, the fucking linebacker? Hey, he was going crazy too. So it's all about why or how can you improve the offensive line without taking away from all of the other shit. And a big factor I think that is they just signed their tackle to a deal, and before he could even play, he got hurt. I think it was an extension, but my point of it is they had the weapons. They paid the weapons. The weapons were just broken. So if you take it all back, step to square one, you're looking at the Bengals with a better line. Their running back is fine. Joe Burrow's still on his rookie deal. Jamar Chase is still on his rookie deal. Joe Burrow's on his last year, though, so you might want to extend his ass. Just saying. If they simply just, put a little bit of money into their offensive line, I know obviously guys are going to walk, guys are going to stay. They need to get rid of Eli Apple's dumbass. But, hey, he could be on that. That could have motivated him to do better next year. Next year could be a better year for him. But, man, that reminded me of Allen Iverson crossing up Michael Jordan. We all knew it was going to happen. Allen Iverson's move is the crossover, and he's in front of the GOAT. When Cooper Kupp was in front of Eli Apple, not calling Eli Apple the GOAT. But whenever you give him that chance, he's got to. There's no other. I think everybody in America knew it was going to be a fade route to Cooper Kupp. After that whole season, you give it to the man. That play, that ISO to Cooper Kupp, made up for that time Pete Carroll didn't hand it off to Marshawn Lynch. I'll say it right now. That moment made up for Marshawn Lynch's missed carry. Because think about this. If the Rams try to hand it off on the one, and then they muff it and fumble it, now what is everybody who said you should have ran it going to say? Wait, hold on. What is everybody who said 4 years ago, you should have ran it? What are they saying now? Exactly. No, I'm just kidding. That one was a joke. Don't get on my ass. I know. Situational offense. Don't worry. You have a great passer, best receiver in football, other than Davante Adams. It's okay. I understand. Run a fade route. It's cool. I think Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow playing college together was a hack. At least once they became teammates in the NFL. Because now you're looking at chemistry that nobody can compare to. Like, these guys were working in college together. Let alone, there are NFL players that will take the offseason to, like quarterbacks who will take the offseason to gain chemistry with their receivers. Joe Burrow didn't have to do that. He probably took a week or two and just got comfortable with Jamar Chase again. Like, easy. Now all they're worried about is plays and how can we route these hoes up the finest. If the Bengals win that Super Bowl, I think Joe Burrow wins the MVP. And I think that just because there's nobody else who performed outstandishly on that team, but also I think there's a stereotype that quarterbacks win the Super Bowl MVP by default. Nobody else did anything crazy by default. I wish there was like an award for like another player other than quarterbacks, because quarterbacks just have an advantage to awards like that because they touch the ball every play that they're on the field. You know, a receiver only gets 3 or 4 catches a game, you know, or if they're lucky, they get over 5. A running back may get 20 carries. A quarterback will throw the football 30 or 40 times a game, like a fucking pitcher. So if we're creating NFL quarterbacks to be more MLB pitcher-esque, meaning they throw a lot more, we need to give them their own individual accolades at this point. They're no longer, like, even with the safety rules that they're implying, quarterbacks, you can't even touch them nowadays. If we're going to do that, they're no longer football players at this point. They're no longer allowed to get wrapped up and tackled unless they're in the pocket making a game-winning throw and you have to make the tackle and the ref feels bad for you because he's throwing the penalty on you this whole game. Like, I know I'm bringing it out of proportion, but you know what I mean. Quarterbacks, while they are athletes, they're not football players. I feel personally. Maybe somebody's gonna have to prove me wrong and make a quarterback that goes wild card or wildcat, catches like six catches for 45 yards or some shit. Maybe then I'll think, hey, quarterback can be a football player too. But I mean, they're in the same category as kickers and punters. You sneeze on them, getting a 15 and an automatic first. That's what it is. So yeah, I think Joe would win that MVP if they would have won. If that game goes differently, I think Bengals go on to be the next, not dynasty, but I think that they go on to win the AFC North. Damn, yeah. I take them winning the AFC North next year over Lamar. And I just say that because I think Joe Burrow's a better pocket passer than Lamar is a runner or a scrambler quarterback. And that take goes off of this league is becoming more air friendly instead of ground friendly. Guys are more susceptible to getting tackled than they are to dropping a pass. In my opinion, I think guys are learning how to run routes, make shifty cuts, and quarterbacks are learning how to become more precise and accurate and strong-armed. And then a running back is juking or trying to find open holes. I don't think high school football, I don't think college football prepares young athletes enough to be ground and pound anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Just a white boy from a small town, okay? But from what I've seen, everybody's slinging that bitch nowadays. And that's what's getting kids to college. So, maybe, just maybe, in the next 5 years, we're not going to see as many, I would say, strong, bulky running backs. I think you're going to see more Deebo Samuel types. They're not going to be taking handoffs anymore. They're going to be taking dump passes and wheel routes and little out routes. They're not going to be taking it straight to the pause. They're not going to be taking handoffs anymore. But hey, you never know. I diverse. Going on to our next subject. next year's awards, I think the yearly awards are kind of bogus. I like to make fun of the MVP just because Aaron Rodgers has 4, and the only other person to do that is Peyton Manning. So I just like to hold that over your head like a little rattle over a baby. But I think honestly, they're overrated. Just as overrated as like all-star voting in the NBA. It's all fan bias. It's all basics. Yeah, stats have something to do with it, but when it comes down to it, it's all up to your definition. Most valuable player to the league or most valuable player to the team that they're on. Because you can put Tom Brady on the fucking Lions and he'll throw for 1,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. He'll cut his stats in half, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And because he brought Detroit to a 500 record, he's going to look like an MVP because they just went from 2 wins to 8 wins or 9 wins, But if you're looking at, league MVP, you got guys like Patrick Mahomes or Derrick Henry or Jamar Chase now is going crazy, You got guys that run the whole league and they're more what you would say is MVP worthy, I mean, their numbers may not. If you look down at a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, no highlights, and you look at all the base numbers of every person in the league and what they do, just their stats, you'll find that your opinion based on that versus what you see on TV is very different. Because Derrick Henry may pull 200 yards in 2 carries because he just ran 2 99-yard runs. And that's crazy as fuck. And that may, highlight-wise, create an MVP vote. But at the end of the day, it's still only 200 yards. You want a fucking round of applause? It's 1 game's worth of work. What was applaud-worthy was when he gets hurt, and for like 4 weeks after he gets hurt, he's still number 1 on the leaderboards. That's applaud-worthy. That's MVP vote-worthy to me. When you do something like that where the whole league has to catch up to you, that's more MVP voting for me. Kind of blew because he was on my fantasy team and because I honestly thought he was the MVP leader. But hey, injuries happen. He'll be back next year. I hope it's the same year, if not better, but can only do so much. I don't know how this whole comeback player of the year award works. He came back for a playoff game, I think, or did he come back like the last 2 weeks? My point is, if he's eligible and he has a great year, I think he'll be up for it. But hey, I think it just depends on what the actual official rules are for how you qualify. Because hey, Lamar Jackson was out, and we already know what he's going to do. He's going to run and pass for. I would assume he's going to go He's going to go K for K, 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards passing. Might have 15 interceptions, but hey, them Ks look real nice. I think. What else? Comeback player of the year. I think defensive player of the year. Man, Jalen Ramsey. What happened, dog? I was really hoping, to recap real quick, just give you 30 seconds of my opinion. I thought Jalen Ramsey was going to have a great game against Jamar Chase. But, man, oh, man, he proved me wrong. That first bomb, I feel you. I feel you, dog. And just to think, like, these guys are at full sprint speed. So, like, if, in retrospect, these guys are dead sprinting. If Jamar Chase's foot clicks Jalen Ramsey's foot like that, they're both tumbling to the ground. It's crazy to me how fast these athletes can move And with a simple nick of the pads, a simple push can have them flying because of just how much their momentum is pushing them in one area. But Jalen Ramsey, he's still the best corner in the league. Don't get me wrong, he's still the best corner in the league. I just think he's got to do a little bit of off-season work to touch up them gears. I think Ja'Marr Chase maybe humbled him. Remember, Jalen Ramsey is a trash talker. He is the same guy that but speared Golden Tate just because Golden Tate had something to say about Jalen Ramsey leaving his baby mama, aka Golden Tate's sister. Golden Tate had to back his sister by blood default, and Jalen Ramsey still put that old ass man into some fucking raggedy ass MetLife Stadium turf. Just think about that. If he's gonna do that to a 35-year-old Golden Tate who's on his 5th team, imagine what he would do to an actual receiver one. Now, I'm just kidding. That was just his physicality. I think his physicality is unmatched. I think he's the other than I feel like J.R. Alexander. I think he's got that Jalen Ramsey grit where he can tackle and he's real. He wants to be in the trenches too, don't get me wrong. But Jalen Ramsey still has that coverage that Jalen Ramsey probably, I wouldn't even doubt, or J.R. Alexander probably studies Jalen Ramsey, because whenever I study both of them, they both look very similar, almost identical. Just twins. Like, if we could have got Jalen Ramsey, man, oh, fuck no. Fuck no. It would have been over. Like, Debo wouldn't have had shit. Even though Debo didn't have shit but a fucking limp after he got off the cold turf in Lambeau, Debo wouldn't have even had the shit he shit. Overall, I think he's a great corner. I think he's meant for zone. I don't know why his man coverage is lackey, but same, dog. I feel you. Everybody can be a demon in zone because everybody knows where you're at. The only thing you got to do is disguise it and make sure that the whatcha-nuts quarterback doesn't know where you're going. Such as his first interception as a Ram, they're running cover 2. He was sitting in the flats. He pretended like he was going into 3, so when the quarterback threw the vert route, he went and snagged that hoe. That's Jalen Ramsey. He's a magician. He's gonna confuse you into thinking he's somewhere, but he's really there. If you know he's in man, which is why I love AR, because AR says, hey, go in motion real quick. Let me see what this pimp out here doing. Is he in man or is he in zone? Let's figure this shit out before we snap the ball. And so yeah, I think Jalen Ramsey, if he works on his man, he's gonna be a little bit better. I mean, obviously he's gonna be a little bit better, but I think he's gonna be that next caliber where he's really gonna be Dion. And I don't say that lightly. I take Dion like Mike. I watch corners and I try to see who can be like Dion. Who is Dion? What is it? I want to make a saying right now. Be on like Dion. Some shit like that. But no, for real though. I think Jalen Ramsey probably is the closest thing to Deion Sanders in this generation. Don't take that for last generation, because there's other people in last generation's set of corners that I think were closer at their time. But Jalen Ramsey still has, I don't think he's peaked. I honestly don't think he's peaked. I think he's a great corner, zone-wise, press-wise. I think he's a demon, but because he's physical. He's just, when you get a physical guy like him, you can put him in press, and he's fast as fuck. So his man isn't bad. It's just Ja'Marr Chase literally probably runs a 0.04 faster 40. So when you literally run him up line by line, it's going to be a hair's width of a difference. The only difference is, as a DB, you have to react to what the receiver is doing. You can't decide what the receiver is doing until you know what he's doing, or else you're going to get crossed up like a fucking piece of paper. But man, that was a tough game for him. Tough game. I think, honestly though, if the Rams can, what are things that the Rams can do? I think personally, I don't know who the fuck their running back was, but he did his job. Could have done more. They could have had a run game to work with the air game, but oh well. Can't pay everybody, right? Right. Either way, Rams come out victorious. Aaron Donald was the one to create or to end it all. Got his ring. Proud moment. Draft wise, I think it was stupid as fuck that I'm having a brain fart. I'm gonna cut this part out. Hold on. Cut. Three, two, and cut. Thinking about this game, I really think. Stop just endlessly talking. Think before you speak. Just talk about what you know. 20 seconds. Just give her a second. All right. I think honestly, going into the draft, I think the Packers have a couple options that they can look at because we got people leaving. That's the first thing I want to think about. Who's leaving so we can replace them? Because right now we got a great team. We got a good setup. There's nobody that we really need to replace. There's just people we can upgrade and work on. So running backs, I think we're fine. There's nothing better than A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. They're two guys that work great together. And they both, I think, can go for 1,000 yards if we really wanted them to. Line, A1. All of our linemen have played all of the positions on the line like it was a fucking high school team. We've had our guard play center. We've had our center play tackle. We've had our tackle play guard. We've had it all, just simply off injury. So if we get a healthy line, we will be unstoppable because those guys still busted their ass and didn't look like a leaky sink, per se. And they did it. I don't even think we had a Pro Bowler on our line. We had, and the only person I think would be is Elton Jenkins. That or Billy Turner. Only two. Of course Bakhtiari, but he was hurt. We can't say him because he was hurt. You can't be a Pro Bowler if you're on the sideline. With all of our injuries on the line, we still did so well that it kind of sucks because they were all getting healthy as we were about to close up shop. So, in retrospect, next year is going to be fucking crazy if we get the same guys. But drafting wise, honestly, I think we should go defensive line. We just restructured Kenny Clark from Arizona State. What a fucking dog. I remember drafting him thinking, I don't know if he's going to work out. He might be a 3-and-out guy. No, that guy is here to stay. I was a fan of Mike Daniels more than Kenny Clark. I thought Mike Daniels was going to be like the veteran and Kenny Clark was going to be the OG. And they're going to come in and take shit over. Nope. Mike Daniels moves on to Detroit. You know, he was on the Cincinnati Bengals D-line. That motherfucker almost won a Super Bowl without us. Props to him. Iowa native. Props to him. Little Midwest steal right there. Whatchamacallit though, Kenny Clark, he's just restructured his contract. He should be good. Could get another D lineman in there. Unfortunately, probably gonna have to let go of Zadarius Smith. He's been hurt. Gets paid too much to be hurt. So could look for a edge rusher. Ooh, you know what? There's an edge rusher in Michigan I heard of. Maybe if we have a special guy throwing the ball, we can find somebody at the top of the draft and, you know, get situated. I'm just kidding. We would never do that shit. That was the stupidest fucking thing I ever said in my entire life. But it could still happen, and I would have to support it as a Packer fan. The other team, or the other players that I think might go, Randall Cobb might go. He might end up leaving just because we can't afford him, but hey, Rodgers might lure him in. Other players, obviously, Rodgers may leave, but that's always a flip of the coin. He's going to have to decide that on his own. Anybody and everybody who thinks they know what they're doing or says they know what they're doing when it comes to talking about or predicting Aaron Rodgers doesn't know what they're doing and doesn't know what they're saying. And I will say that personally. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is doing. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is thinking or saying. I, as a Packers fan who's seen him play for 10 years now, almost 15, I just think, you know, you can't just give up on something that you've been with for 16 years, especially when it's like, we're doing shit for you, dog. We're helping you out. You're coming to us with problems, we're resolving them. Fuck with us. Like, other than being the opposite of a Bears fan, there's nothing wrong with the Packers at all. And there's nothing wrong with being the opposite of a Bears fan. It's just I live in Illinois, so there's always going to be fucking ops on my corner. Safeties. Adrian Amos was rumored to be heading out possibly. Great guy, great player. I love picking him up from the Bears because the Bears suck and they always have great players and they just ruin careers. Like, damn. You guys had a whole defense full of Hall of Famers and you just shit the fucking bed. You let Peyton Manning make a bunch of Hall of Famers look like fucking children. Imagine that. Like, at least whenever we get to the big game, I can enjoy my night. Y'all have to go home crying, drunk, and fucking ready to go to sleep. Anyways, I digress. Adrian Amos, you know, he got that pick in the divisional game. I thought that was, I mean, you know, it was a scramble drill, so there's nothing really spectacular of that pick, but other than that, like, his whole season, he had a great season. We have, who is our other? Darnell Savage. Savage, you know, it's crazy because Savage is built like a free safety and Amos is built like a strong, but they play opposite. Savage is the Savage who plays strong, and he's the bone crusher. From maybe it's opposite, like on the field, maybe his position is free safety, but every time I see him on the field, he's cracking somebody. That's what I like about him. He makes open field tackles. Like, it's just, man, I'm gonna have to give me a Savage jersey. I'm gonna put it up on the wall. We have Rasul Douglas. We're trying to restructure his contract right now. And when I say we, I mean the Green Bay Packers. I am an owner of the Green Bay Packers, so fuck with me. Yeah, but he's getting restructured right now. They're trying to come to terms because we picked him up off of the Cardinals practice squad. So right now he was getting paid bullshit, and now that he had like 6 interceptions or some shit. So now he's gonna be asking for a couple millies. We probably give him the vet min. I don't even know if he qualifies as a vet, but we'll give you the min that every vet gets. And if you have a spectacular season playing more snaps, maybe we'll give it to you. But right now we're looking at J.A. number 2-3 at the cornerback 1. And see, he's been having injury problems too. I feel like we've been putting the load on him. I feel like putting him at receiver, putting him on the receiver 1 every game gets him targeted more and gets him more action. and that's what's causing his injuries. I really feel like him flying around the whole field, having to dive, swap these passes down, make these open field tackles, like, dog, let's let him focus on one thing that he's really good at, and let's save his life before he throws his body away for the Packers. Because we got him at receiver 1, or corner 1. We got, I would honestly put Douglas at 2 and see how he works. You know, he showed his worth. He's doing great things. Maybe even put him at slot. However the team feels. You know, I don't go to practice and watch the film. Don't get me wrong. I may know a lot of shit about this shit, but, like, I don't go to practice and watch this shit. I don't watch a lick of film on any team. I watch the highlights, whatever's given to me by ESPN. So maybe he's better in the nickel. Maybe that's why he's getting all his picks, because he's sitting and watching. But I think him, J.A., and Stokes are our 3 corners going into the next year. I want to say, for if we don't get an outside line, if we don't bring back Za'Darius Smith, I think we draft a guy, and maybe Rashawn Gary is ready. I know that his rookie year, he played very minimal, and he was learning from both the Smith guys. And I believe last year he played a lot more based on Za'Darius Smith's injury, and he played relatively well, I believe. I think next year he's going to come for a career year. I think he's really pushing that energy that he's trying to become a game changer, and I'm for it. So, hey, Z Smith heads out. Best of love to you, but we're going to head on with 5-2 Rashawn Gary. Oren Burks, I'm not 100% sure, because everybody's been signing and everybody's leaving and coming in. So I'm not 100% sure, but I believe he's still on the team. He was playing inside linebacker for us. He's been there for a couple years. He played with us back when we had McCarthy. I think that was just not beginning. I think that's when we signed him from the Colts. But yeah, great player. I believe last year he had the team total. He led the team in tackles. I like him at the inside linebacker position, but I'm not going to lie, I don't study inside linebackers like crazy. We had, what's his name? There's another guy, and he's from Nebraska. Shucks. Well, there's this big old white dude, number 51, I want to say. But he's from one of them small Midwest schools, like fucking, look, I'm telling you right now, side note, if you want a linebacker, this is how you get one. You go to the Midwest schools like Nebraska, like fucking Iowa, like Purdue, and you go get you a wrestler. For real. You go get you a wrestler, and you see how they run that middle linebacker core. I'm telling you right now, a wrestler is always the way whenever it comes to linebackers. I don't know how, but anytime that I've played football, any linebacker teammate that I've had, wrestler. 100%. Any linebacker in the NFL that I've seen, it's like, oh shit, that guy's good. Or any guy that I've seen in college that is like, oh shit, that's good. Wrestler. Fucking wrestler. Now, I'm joking. Obviously, not every NFL linebacker is a collegiate wrestler, but I would say probably 9 out of 10 linebackers in the NFL tried wrestling in high school. My point is, if you take a wrestler and you put him in an NFL, or if you take a wrestler and you put him in the linebacker spot, they're going to feel comfortable, because all they're looking for is that guy to put in a double or put in a single. And that's all a wrestler does. They find the hole, or that's all a football linebacker does. They put it, they sit in the hole and they wait. And if there's no running back, so what? You're running coverage. I remember a lot of times at wrestling practice for cardio, we played basketball with weighted balls. Pause. Big. That's a whole stop button. Jesus Christ. I need to watch myself. My vocab. Yeah. So we were playing basketball with the weighted heavy. You know, you do the your core workout. My point is, wrestlers can play basketball just as well as basketball players can. They just choose to be more physical, and that's why most of the time you choose wrestling over basketball. There's a physicality issue. You know, in basketball you can't usually pick somebody up and put them on the ground. So, honestly, if I was an NFL coach, that's where I would go. If I was doing these draft interviews, hey, when you were in high school, did you wrestle? Did you wrestle by chance? Any state titles you got? What was your weight class? Heavyweight, or 170s? What were we talking about? That's because, like, I don't know, wrestling brings the most physicality out in people. So if you can bring that out in somebody, and they're already big as fuck, you got the perfect linebacker. What else do you need? A big ass dude who's ready to be physical. And that's the biggest pause of the day. All right. Let's see. So, yeah, like, you need a wrestler. Go get a wrestler, and you got a linebacker for life. For real. Or, even put him at running back. You see how these NFL teams are looking at rugby players from other countries and starting to bring them in to play their physical. It's like nobody ever thought about this. You have a physical position in a sport. Other sports hold these physical players. Sign them. Put them on your team. I don't know how it took till like 2020 or 2018, but rugby players, I feel like, are very undervalued in the NFL, because these guys can be monsters. And if we're trying to enhance the league or improve the league into becoming better, they are the way, at least for hitting purposes, because these Americans who don't play rugby, they have I feel like there's a different terminology. Like, I feel like rugby players learn how to tackle one way and football players learn to tackle a different way. Like, football players are like, use your shoulder. Like, we as football players wear pads all the time and expect those pads to protect us. So we use those to our advantage by, leaning with our head a little bit forward. You keep your head up, but your head still hits them. You hit them with your shoulder, but really it's your chest. Rugby players don't have those pads, so whenever they do hit them a little bit with their head, they cut their head open. They hit them with their chest instead of their shoulder, they might fuck something up, break their collarbone. So they learn and adapt from those things. And so then when they do get those pads, not only do they may not feel comfortable in the moment, but once they get used to the pads part, they may feel more comfortable to not only use the correct technique to safely hit somebody and properly hit somebody, but also with a lot more force. Like, might just be me, I don't know, but I feel like NFL players and rugby players both have this switch that they hit whenever they're about to go light somebody up. But I just feel like that switch is just a little bit different, and I feel like the rugby players have slightly more of an advantage. Just because rugby is a sport where no matter who you are on the field, you have to be a hitter. A hitter. And that's the smallest guy to the biggest guy, because anybody and everybody gets hit out there. So, going back, I know I do this shit all the fucking time. Tangents are my middle name. But the running back, or the linebacker core for the Packers ain't too bad. I think it can get better. I think maybe that's something we draft into. If we could get a Hall of Fame linebacker, that'd be supreme, but can't ask for it all. We already got a supreme offense. One thing I did want to bring up was the Davante Adams stuff. Honestly, with his situation, I honestly think he's going to be franchise tagged and may sit this year out, may play. But either way, I think that he is going to be a Packer for this year. He may not get paid what he wants. I really don't see him sitting out, though. I don't see him pulling a Le'Veon Bell. I think everybody saw what Le'Veon Bell did and said, fuck that. Because even look what happened to Zeke. Zeke got suspended. Almost got his ass tubby as fuck. Like, think about where Zeke was versus where he is now. Ezekiel Elliott, the running back for the Dallas Cowboys. He's cool. Cool name. He got that Ohio State tattoo somewhere? But other than that, like, I don't know. He's just another running back in this year's league. In my opinion, like, it all runs back to what I first said in the beginning. Like, the NFL is so pass heavy that running backs like him can't even get the respect they deserve. Because, I don't know, he just doesn't cut it anymore, I guess, in my opinion. He doesn't have enough qualities. Like Derrick Henry, he is an extremist on one side. He can literally go, you can give him a halfback draw and he'll just run it down their throats. You can do that with Derrick Henry because he's an extreme freak of nature. But other than him, I don't see anybody else who you can just be like, oh, he's a running back. We just hand them the ball and he runs up the middle or he runs to the outside and he gets us the yards we need. Nope, I don't think that happens anymore. You got to throw him the ball. You got to give him the out route. You got to know how to make a juke. You got to be able to spin him out. You got to go back to that Ohio State Zeke. You got to get rid of the tubby. You got to get rid of the tubby. You got to get rid of that tummy. Seriously. Because if you don't, you're just a power back. And we'll see you on third down. Honestly. Because how am I going to throw a wheel route to somebody who can get 2 or 3 yards and then is down after one person tackles him, you know? Can't juke him out because you're not big enough or you're not fast enough. Can't truck him because you're not strong enough. You're just big. I don't know. It's just like a depleting value in the league is running backs. Running backs are gasoline. The price keeps going higher and the need keeps getting lower. I mean, shoot. But same thing here with Devontae Adams is I don't think he's going to sit out because when you sit out, you lose your value. It's when you sit a game, I feel like sitting a game is like driving a fresh car off the lot. You lose value fast. The more games you lose, the more games you're forgotten. Like the more money you lose, really. But you know, there's a lot of things that go into it. Devontae Adams may settle for a contract with Green Bay. He's looking for a long-term deal with us, and he's publicly stated that. So him moving on is probably just him pulling views for the attention of it. Like, I don't think he's gonna leave. If he leaves, it's because Aaron Rodgers left, and I guarantee if he leaves, it's either gonna be to leave with Aaron Rodgers or leave because he cannot succeed the way he succeeded with A-Rod, and he needs to find a new QB because he doesn't like Jordan Love. Which also, to recap, or to go back on, I don't think Jordan Love is our fucking starting quarterback. Not yet, at least. I think he's our filler until we draft another guy or sign somebody, if A-Rod even leaves, let alone. But yeah, long story short, you know, I just wanted to go over the Super Bowl. Wanted to talk about how the Bengals and the Rams game went. In my eyes, I wanted to talk about how, you know, the Rams and the Bengals' futures may hold with, you know, contracts, injuries, all that stuff. Next season, you know, there's so many variables to a Super Bowl winning team. One tackle could change the whole trajectory of the entire league. And I would like to go into that. I think I'm going to start a series where what ifs. What if this guy didn't get hurt? What do you see going on here? But I don't know. Just want to recap. You know, we talked about Aaron Rodgers' situation. You know, I'm a Packers fan, so I'm always talking about the Packers. Every episode is going to talk about the Packers somehow. We're going to talk about something. with the Packers. Maybe not this deep every time, but talk about what his situation personally feels like, what the whole team, what we could use in the draft, what the whole league, what the Super Bowl teams could use in the draft. There are a lot of crazy things going on in this year's league, but I wanna be able to do an episode every week where I just sit down and kind of wipe out all of the information of what's happened that week. Right now we're going through Rodgers and his debacle. Everything else is pretty quiet because nobody's doing anything. It's 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, I believe, so can't really. They're still celebrating over in LA, I bet. But ring ceremony hasn't even come out. If I'm correct, I don't believe the Super Bowl rings have even popped out yet. So, hey, we got plenty of time before the league gets back in action, wakes up from its hibernation. When it does, we'll be talking a lot more about weekly things, who picks up who signs what, where the draft goes, how the combine goes, because college players gotta go to the pros. We gotta give them a little bit of attention. I'm gonna make a mock draft for the first 32 teams, or the first 32 teams. I'm gonna make a mock draft to let us know what teams are gonna pick who. So yeah, I'm posting this on YouTube, Facebook, anywhere that'll let me post a 1-hour clip. But let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of me personally. You hate me, you love me, T.O., anything. Let me know what you think of my takes. Probably all hate my takes because we're in Illinois. So Chai Bears are going crazy right now in the chat. But one thing I do want to say, if you give me your take in the comments, I'm not going to respond to it in the comments, so you're wasting your time. But if you do send a comment on your take or on something I put my take on, I will give you a response in next week's video. How about that? I'm not going to go back and forth, Twitter fingers and all that bullshit, but I will give a response via the video. So unfortunately, if you want to hear my response to your response, you're gonna have to watch next week's video, meaning you're gonna have to be a viewer. Might as well like and subscribe, because you're gonna be talking shit with me every week. You might as well just give me that sub so I can put it in my ranks. But hey, you know what? At the end of the day, we're all football fans. We all, at one point in our lives, very young age, decided we wanted to hit people for fun. We wanted to be hit for fun. And I guess, we ended up creating likings for certain teams, and we all have takes. Unfortunately, this is just my take. It's a very bold one. I get to the line and try to make sure I know where I'm going. My point is, if you like this video, go ahead and like it. If you don't, I don't give a fuck. If you hate me and you comment that, I don't give a fuck. But yeah, genuinely, if you send a comment of your take, I will genuinely read it and give you a reply in next week's video, so we can have a little conversation. There's not enough shit for me to talk about, so I can always make a little segment for that shit. But yeah, I'm gonna head out because it's been about an hour here. You can see the timestamp. See y'all later.